Joining us now is Nina Khrushcheva. She is the great-granddaughter of former Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev. She is a professor of international affairs at the New School and co-author of the book, In Putin's Footsteps, Searching for the Soul of an Empire Across Russia's 11 time zones. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you. So can you give us a sense of what you think Vladimir Putin is going for here at this point, and has his desires, his strategies, his goals changed?
Well, what's interesting about a month and a half, less than a month and a half, but over a month of this operation, they've been like changing goalposts all the time.
Right.
There's different, so it's all about Donbass, all that, it's all about denazification, it's all about we are defending the Russian people, and the footage that you showed clearly Russian people are in great danger. So it's not exactly clear where Putin needs to stop or wants to stop. And I think that's what's so dangerous, is because we don't know what the final goal is. Is it the full occupation of Ukraine? Is it to punish Ukraine, that Ukraine has resisted so much? Is it really to come up with some sort of a solution for Donbass and then leave Ukraine alone? We simply do not know. First, yesterday there was a conversation that maybe by May 9th they would need to finish this operation. It's the Victory Day, the World War Victory Day parade, and they need to show another victory. Or it is possible that they would go on because they are not ready to claim the victory yet.
Let me read from your latest opinion piece entitled Putin's War Will Destroy Russia. And you write in part this: if President Vladimir Putin has shown us anything, it is that we cannot believe the present, and all that matters for Russia's future is its past. There is no good reason to believe that Mr. Putin alone is behind the Ukraine war, and that not even the highest-ranking Russian officials have had much of a say. However it started, the war will probably end in one of four ways. Russia could seize control of part of or all of Ukraine, but only briefly. In the second scenario, Ukraine agrees to recognize Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk as Russian territories, enabling the Kremlin's propaganda machine to churn out stories of liberated Ukrainians. But even as the Putin regime claimed victory, Russia would remain a global pariah, with its economy permanently scarred by sanctions, abandoned by hundreds of global companies, and increasingly devoid of young people. In the third scenario, an increasingly frustrated Mr. Putin deploys tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine. In the final scenario, U.S. President Joe Biden gets his wish. Mr. Putin is removed from power.
You know, we heard in that piece from Richard Engel that Russian soldiers were saying to the Ukrainians, we're here to liberate you. On the long list of miscalculations made by President Putin is that he thought Ukrainians perhaps would greet Russian forces. We're reuniting the Soviet Empire. You're coming back home into our nation. Can you explain a little bit the dynamic of the way the Ukrainian people feel about Russia and vice versa, how these two nations view each other?
Well, I mean, they had common history, and we know that both Russians and Ukrainians had a proto-state, the Kievan Rus, early on in the 800s. So they both hail from there. But then history sort of diverges, and especially diverges after 1991, when Ukraine became an independent country. And somehow Putin decided to go back to treat Ukraine as an appendage, which of course, in his view, was something that he's going to now also give to Ukrainians to come back to the fold of Mother Russia. And that's what I wrote in my piece, is that this decision was clearly Putin's, because it was very much, and he's a KGB man, so the whole thing was run as a clandestine operation. Very few people knew exactly that when it's happening, how it's happening, and who is involved. And so they were feeding him, the FSB, the security forces, were feeding him information that Ukrainians are just going to surrender, because even they did not believe he's going to be so suicidal and basically shoot off his legs and Russia's legs for centuries. I mean, certainly decades to come. And so now they keep running that narrative, but we already know that the narrative completely holds no water, and so that's why TV is wall to wall how we're liberating Ukrainians from the Nazi regime that is being installed by the United States.
How is it that prior to the latest extreme censorship within Russia, that the Russian people have lived for so long under Putin without access to true freedom, true liberty, and more affluence? And with regard to the war, do you think Putin will ever stop?
He needs to win. I don't know what he will constitute as victory, and that's why I gave this 4 rather grim scenarios, but he needs to show victory. If victory takes taking all the full of Ukraine, yes. But what is really remarkable is that, Russia was devoid of basic liberties, but also they were quite, until a few years ago, they were quite viable civil society. And in the last 2 years, it started falling down and just fell off the cliff completely after February 24th. So even for us, who knew how all these freedoms are being limited for a number of years, it still felt like it was a complete Iron Curtain fell, and essentially the Great Purge's time, the famous Stalin's time of 1938, suddenly descended, because it really was, from what it was to what it is now, it was still a giant gap. So Putin needs to win, and he's going to do everything to show that he did. And anybody who disagrees with within Russia or even outside of it now is treated as an enemy.
So I'm curious about the brain drain out of Russia right now. How easy is it for people who see that Putin has done serious, permanent damage to the Russian people by what he has done foolishly here? How many of the people that Russia needs are trying to leave Russia right now and maybe never to return?
At the beginning, after the 24th, I think in the first few weeks, because it was such a shock, even for those who were always critical of Putin, like me, it was still a shock, because I just didn't think it would be so suicidal. And so actually killing Russia, take Russia down with him into North Korea territory. So a lot of people left. I think by now it's about 300,000 people that are gone. A lot of IT people disappeared. A lot of athletes, in fact, took other citizenships. So Russia has brain drain, but also talent drain altogether. Some people still believe that they would come back. I mean, some people still think that maybe by the summer it's going to die down. It's getting harder and harder to leave, but it's still possible. I mean, for example, Istanbul, Turkey became the oasis for all these Russians sort of running think tanks and IT firms. But it is, I mean, I study Stalinism because of Khrushchev too, but I do study Stalinism. And I have to say the similarity is remarkable, heartbreaking, and shocking, because Stalinism, at least the people were forced into it. Now we just allowed ourselves to happen.
And of course, Stalin, a hero of Putin's.
Here you go.
Stalin, a man who starved Ukraine.
Millions, and Ukraine
killed millions of Ukrainians.
And also, and I want to say, Ukrainians and a lot of other people. I mean, people from Kazakhstan actually suffered even more than the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, he was a mass murderer in a sense, and now Putin seems to be walking in his footsteps.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.